G'day and welcome to the first race of the first season of the 2021 Manufacturer Series on Gran Turismo Sport. I am Dan Raff79 on GT Sport, feel free to follow me. And you find me today in P3 on the grid, and I would have shown you my qualifying time, but I am new at this and I completely forgot to record it. But as we move down the grid, there's only really a couple of races that I recognise, and a surprisingly high number of Subarus, including, I guess, a PlayStation employee, no doubt sent in to keep an eye on us. Blue Chip 850 I've raced against before, Biggs Taylor I've raced against before, shout out to both of you. But yeah, 6 Subarus in this race, which is the most I've seen in any FIA race that I've been in. Granted, I've only been doing this for about 8 months, but I think it has to do with the fact that, you know, Subarus are obviously superior vehicles and the best car brand that ever was or ever will be. Actually, it's probably more to do with the fact that Polyphony have limited the number of manufacturers in each race to 12. There are 25 manufacturers racing, obviously, but only 12 will be seen in any one race. It's probably the first thing, actually, to be honest. No. But as we get underway at Barcelona, for what is a long and lonely race, Spanish Air Force giving us a send-off as we head down the main straight on lap 1. And immediately Kawashi Gomasov goes for the move on Uncle Pony 2 and gets that done pretty handily into T1. And Uncle Pony 2, I think, is having issues with cold tyres. I don't think he's quite... I don't know what it is about the Alpha that the tyres take so long to warm up, but this entire lap he seems to be on the brink, and I managed to keep up with him pretty easily. And behind me there's a gaggle of cars and they're not having such a good time. This race seemed a lot more competitive in the mid-pack, not so much up the front end where I am. There was just really not much going on in the way of a fight, or, you know, just very little happens. Very little happens. And I think because of the combination of tyre wear and fuel usage in this race, tyre wear is at times 10 and fuel is at times 4, which I think is a bit of a weird mix. Because it means you have to do both fuel saving and tyre saving, and look, this is not top split. This is what I affectionately call clubman class. We're not good at that, and this car that I'm driving is also not good at that as I come through the worst chicane in motorsport. But into cockpit view for my fastest lap of the race, which happened to be on lap 2, as I come up to, at T1 to make the move on Uncle Pony 2, and I do get that move done. But yeah, the combination of fuel and tyre wear is really odd, and I think that's one of the reasons why later in the race you'll see how far the field is spread around the track, because honestly I think a lot of people just could not work out how to make a one-stop work. I've started on mediums, a lot of other people have started on softs, and certainly up in the top split you'll have drivers starting on soft and managing to make those tyres last for 7 laps, which is really what you need to do in order to make a one-stop work. You can't hit before lap 7. But also the fuel usage. If I was to start on the hards, for instance, yeah, I'd have to really use up all of my fuel before pitting, because you need room in the tank, which is why on this first stint I'm driving the hell out of this car. You know, I'm really using the top of the gear range as much as possible and accelerating as aggressively as possible, just trying to empty the tank as much as possible, because I will need that room when I go into refuel at my pit stop, which will be coming up in a few laps time. In the meantime, I've got a PlayStation employee and Uncle Pony 2 on my tail, with less than a second gap back to PS in work 0. And this is not my best lap, I'll be honest. But honestly, it's also rather inconsequential, and you'll see why a bit later as I get squirrely around this turn and am passed by my Subaru teammate. And further on, as Uncle Pony 2 does gain on me as well, down to a half a second gap, down to my most hated corner on this track. It took me so long to get this corner right. I can't tell you how many times I skidded off into Narnia. But Uncle Pony 2 gets the move done, had the inside line on both those turns. I just had to let him go, and I was really not going to fight him. Oh god, I hate the chicane. Is this Tilke's work? Yeah, I bet it's Tilke's work. So at the end of lap 3, into P4 at the moment. But as we come to the end of lap 4, PS Network 0 proves my point as he goes into the pits after only 4 laps to get off a set of soft tyres, which were no doubt just at the end of their life. So yeah, that's the story of this race. And the field is already starting to spread out more and more and more as we come up to, as we cut to further on in the race into lap 5. And I'm at this point I'm keeping up with Uncle Pony 2. But I have a feeling actually that he started on hard tyres, which would explain why he got a bit squirrely in the first lap, because the hard tyres would take longer to come up to temperature than softs or mediums. And also, he doesn't pit until much later in the race. So he's on a different strategy as well. Again, a one-stop, but he started on the hards, if I'm guessing correctly. And there's already over an 8-second gap back to P4 at this point, back to Blue Chip 850. And on lap 6, there's a yellow flag up ahead as a back marker comes to grief. And in fact, we're already only on lap 6, and we're about to lap the back marker. He makes it easy for us by crashing into a wall. So we'll flash forward now to the end of lap 7, and my tyres are absolutely munted at this point. So it is time to come into the pits, where I will change onto a set of hards and also fill my fuel tank to the brim, because it's the only way I will be able to make it to the finish line at the end of this race. The Subaru pit crew doing a bang-up job as usual. as I come out of the pits, I am in P8, which doesn't concern me in the slightest, because I'm coming out behind, I think, a number of people who haven't pitted yet. Or will need to pit again, and my Subaru teammate in, well, actually I don't know where he's gone. No, he's in P2. He's in P2. He will need to pit a second time as I come on up onto Koichan in the Mercedes, and I think he pretty much lets me through here. His tyres are at the end of their life, I think. I almost lose it, as is my style. And at the end now of lap 10, or the middle of lap 10, and we'll see at the end, by the end of this lap, pretty much the podium is already set. There's not much else to say. If you look at the track map, and you see just how spread out this field is. Yeah, it just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading. So Uncle Pony 2, Yakora, PS Network into the pits, PS Network in for his second pit stop as Rayon goes in ahead of me. And as I cross the line to start lap 11, Uncle Pony 2 does get out of the pits ahead of me, but everyone else is still stuck in the pits. And folks, that's pretty much all she wrote. This is the story of the race. Not much happened. So, by the end of the lap, a back marker has gone to the pit wall, and further on, start of lap 13, and another back marker has come to grief on the gravel trap, another Subaru teammate. And that's it, lap after lap of nothing happening as we come into the chicane of stupid for the second to last time at the end of the penultimate lap to start the final lap. And yeah, time to reflect on what was a long and lonely race. And you know, if you look at the time count in the bottom left, this was only a half an hour-ish race. I mean, it's pretty much standard fare for an FIA race, but it just felt so much longer. And honestly, by this point of the race, I was almost asleep. It was, yeah, this was a long one. And just look at the gaps. You know, 30 seconds, almost 31 seconds, in fact 31 seconds up to P2 from where I am, 10 seconds back to P4, and you know, that gap back to P4 was at 15 seconds not too long ago, so you know, he has managed to whittle it down somewhat. I've also not been driving my hardest, basically just trying not to bin it completely. But yeah, this has been fun, and as Kawashi Gomasov takes the rally approach to finishing a race and taking the win, and he'll be followed a few seconds later by Uncle Pony 2 taking second, and we've still got 30 seconds until I get to the line. And I mean, just look behind me on the track map and you see how far apart everybody is, right until you get back to the mid-pack there, where there seems to be some sort of action happening. But yeah, this is it. This is all she wrote. It was a long, lonely, boring race at Barcelona to open the series. However, I'm not going to complain about a podium finish to start the season. And as drivers slowly creep into the finish, you can see just how spread out it was, except in the mid-pack from about P7 down to P12. thank you very much for watching. The next race is the Nations Cup Season 1, Round 1 at Lago Maggiore, and we are in karts. So that should make a more interesting watch, I think, and especially since I have never raced in a kart before, ever. So do like, comment and subscribe to make sure that you see that race. And I generally try to post the videos up within a day or so of the race happening. I'm also racing in the Toyota Gazoo Racing GT Cup, so keep an eye out for those races as well. Well, that's it from me. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you at the next race.